and welcome to another podcast with Wisdom on the Front Porch. I know you see the books behind me. You see that on Reading Between the Words. But today we're here with books because I've got an announcement to make. But my guest is Katherine Martin-Fisher, and I'm so glad she's here. Katherine, how are you today?
I'm doing great. And thank you so much, Ellis, for having me on the podcast with you.
Oh, I'm so glad. I've talked with Katherine quite a bit because we're kind of in the same podcast community. And so it's just my honor to have you here. So I'm going to let you tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
So I'm Katherine Martin-Fisher. I am a 10X certified business coach, and I'm the host of the Beyond Business podcast. And what I do is I help to elevate people in their message through my podcast community to help them be able to tell the world what it is that they do. But I also am able to help people who are working, that want to scale their businesses, scale their lives, scale their businesses, change their mindset, be able to help them to increase their revenue. And in order to do that, so many times there are other things. That's why I called my podcast the Beyond Business Podcast, because there's so much more to life than just your business. Everything affects everything. Your business affects your home life affects your business life. And so I just help people be able to get more clarity in those areas.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to do that. What got you started in this? Is it something you've always done?
So I've always loved marketing. I've always loved people. I love people, and I love making a difference in the lives of people. And so the thing, I was a single mom for 14 years, and
Wow.
I had to find creative ways to earn income. And one of the things was building relationships, and building relationship is really a thing that I love. It's close to my heart. I feel like if you can connect with people and you can change lives, then everything else just comes along, with it. And so I found that was my love. And so in my becoming a 10X business coach has allowed me to be able to help people in other ways to, like I said, to scale their business, but also to scale their mindset. There's so many times that's the piece that might need the help. Right. And so, it's just being very creative and wanting to connect with people is my why.
That's awesome. I love that. So when people want to scale up, what does that really mean? Sorry for my phone. Because I know I've talked with a few people and it's like they kind of have different ideas of what it means to scale up. So what does that mean to you?
So what that means to me is that so many times people start with a dream in their heart. And they just they have this passion for the thing that they want to do, that they want to bring to the world. But then they quickly go into overwhelm because they suffer from things such as cash flow, sales, marketing. And then if they have a team, it affects their company culture.
Right.
And so when you talk about scaling, it's different for everyone. But if you have this passion and you have this drive of what you want to bring, but you don't know how to market yourself, then you're not going to be able to blow up because, if they don't know you, they don't flow you. That's a Grant Cardone quote. But part of that is also being able to take the information that you have and the passion that you have and send that to the others. Because if your team doesn't know how to do what it is that you do, because you might be the best at what you do, but you have to be able to transfer that to them.
Right.
So that they are then the ones, you have other people who are helping you in that scale.
Nice. So do you work mostly with CEOs, with business leaders, or do you work with a whole team?
So I can do both, but my niche really is being able to work with anyone from being a startup up to, I would say, 200, 250 employee company where I'm able to work individually with teams. So if it's like a department of a team, and if they need help learning sales skills, how to close the sale, overcome objections, follow-ups, things like that. I can work individually with people who are just they're starting up, but they're needing to learn how to market themselves. Those seems to be like a really good niche for me.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people starting out as entrepreneurs who don't know how to market themselves, who try and they just think, okay, nobody wants my stuff, or I'm no good at this, so I'm just going to quit. And you don't want to quit. Don't quit. Find someone like Catherine to help you learn how to do that, because it is a skill and it can be learned. And the more you learn, the better you're going to do, and the better your company's going to do. So
Well, also sometimes having the skill sets of, like you said, is
yeah,
those pieces of how do you not give up? Well, sometimes
yeah,
you need to know what the process is as you're going along with a client to understand how to follow up, how to keep with them, how to scale up. In order to do that, there's a relationship. It's all about relationships, really,
right,
when you're
right.
building that relationship and not stopping that process. And I've had to do that myself. So as I'm teaching others, so many times you're learning so much more by teaching others as well.
Yes, that's true. That's true. The best way to learn something is you have to teach others. So if you don't know what you're talking about, it's going to show through when you're teaching. So I used to think, oh, teachers have it so easy, they don't have to do anything. But I noticed that there's a difference in teachers. There are the teachers who just show up every day and regurgitate what the book says. Then there's the teachers who actually learn what you need to learn so they can be better at teaching you how you can do that. Now, that brings me up to a question. Everybody has different learning styles. So, how do you work with that? Because some people can just take off this, like, here, follow these steps, and they follow those steps, and they're just going like gangbangers. Other people see that and they're like, well, I don't understand what these steps are. And it's like, what do I do with them once I've got them? So, how do you work with people with their different learning lifestyles?
Well, what I'm learning to do now is work with people who are visual learners,
Hmm.
people who are auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. So what
Yeah,
happens is you don't really realize, and this is a skill, when you understand that there's these different types of learners. And what happens is when you're speaking to them, so if you're a visual learner, you want to have something that you can show them a chart, and you can do it in writing. You want to show them the way, you show them slides. But then when you're an auditory learner, you listen to the things that they listen to, they hear is, you have to talk about the hearing. You want to talk about, you want them to understand in the hearing. They can hear you, they understand, and they can get it. I always just honestly, I was always jealous of the people who could just hear and remember it all, because it's like, oh no. But then there's the kinesthetic learner, and you will lose them if you are not having them do something, so they
right.
learn doing. And so understanding the different learners is really
Okay.
part of how to teach, so that when you're teaching, you're able to speak to all the different learners.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing to bring up, because sometimes we're talking with somebody and it's like we know we've lost them, but have we lost them because we're not paying attention to what they're doing? Are they wanting to see something? Are they listening and they hear everything, but maybe you're saying it to a kinesthetic learner and they don't want to deal with that. So those are important things to do. Now, one thing that all entrepreneurs do is work really hard. And you and I talked about this a little bit before the show, is self-care. How important is self-care in a business, and what are some things that you might have learned along the way about it?
So it's so this is so interesting, because sometimes I don't really realize that I am just going and
Yeah,
not stop. And so it was brought to my attention that it's actually important to do this. Now, I was good at this at one point in my life, but I think as I've moved along, when you're learning something new, you're all in, right?
Yes.
And when you're all in, you forget that you need to have that time to step back, take a deep breath, and actually refocus. Because by giving yourself, you can't keep giving on an empty cup. And so one of the things I found out this weekend, actually, I was gifted for Mother's Day a retreat, a women's retreat. And you had to get rid of the cell phones and put them in a basket and not, not be now I I was taking pictures for the retreat. So I want to just clarify that I did have to do that piece, but it was great because that's just my gift. That's my love language. And so they allowed me to do that. But the phones away, everybody said at the end was, I found even personally that not having gone on social media and not having done anything for the weekend, just the weekend, just to disconnect and journal, taking that time to journal, do yoga, go through nature, spend time with the earth, put your feet in the waterfalls and just be able to just be. And every cell in your body reacts to that beautiful energy of nature. What I realized was I'm actually much more productive. My energy level is up. I got to exercise and deep breathe. We did breathing exercises so many times. What they taught us was even taking 5 minutes of doing breath work before you start your day, when you're getting ready to get on, let's say, a podcast, or you're getting ready to do something, when it's social media related or anything at all, or go into an important meeting, there are ways in which we could meditate and do it in such a short period where you're doing certain breathing exercises. That was so literally enlightening for me because I am a go, go, go person. And if you're an A-type personality, I'll tell you, those people, it's hard to stop. And so what you
Mhm.
want to do is be able to be self-aware, because that will give you'll be then giving from a full cup instead of an empty cup.
Right, right. And, one things I've learned to do is I actually take a whole day on Wednesday, partly because we're out in the country and it takes so long to get anywhere. We're in Texas, it takes forever to get anywhere. But, um, yeah, taking that one day, because on the weekends, I do not stop. I still am doing work. I'm still, either researching or helping people with their books, or we're getting things ready to publish or formatting, whatever it is. And I'm still answering calls, doing Facebook stuff, whatnot, and things with my family. We're part of the fire department, which is, volunteer. And so we're doing things there, things my husband wants to do. Same thing on Sunday. And it's like, I really don't have a day just for me to recharge, to go plant flowers, to go sit on the porch and enjoy the nature around me, to go visit my friends. I mean, we all get so busy with work and with family and with all the things we have to do. Do we ever take time just to go visit a friend, to go say hi, go get a cup of coffee and just enjoy the day? And I started missing those things, and it's like, why am I running this business if I don't get to enjoy life too? And so it gives you a chance to do that. Now, not everybody can do that. Sometimes you have to just take a couple hours in a day or something. um, what's what kind of a schedule do you think you have, or are you looking forward to doing, to get that self-care time?
Well, what I like what you've said is, you've taken a day during the week, because what I find is, and forgive me if this is just, um, as women, as women, we have a tendency, because we're always caring for everyone else and everyone else's needs. The weekends many times includes having to still care for everyone. So it's not really what others might consider a weekend off is still a weekend of working,
Yeah.
because you not only have your work, but then you have your partner, you have your home, you have other things that need cared for. And so sometimes that taking the day off during the week. So yesterday, after doing the retreat, I had to do some, there are things when you live on a farm, there are things that have to be done by a certain date.
Right.
And I gave myself permission, and it was a weekday. And it was like, wow. I'm doing this during the week. And I just literally took the day and I said, I am going to take this time and accomplish this. And I made sure that all of the flowers were done and everything because they
Oh,
must be done before
yeah.
the end of the month so that for the summer they're blooming beautifully. So it has to be done in the spring. And it's always been the thing. And I've been on this farm for almost 16 years now. And
Wow.
in that time, it's like clockwork every year, when the hay has to be done, the hay has to be done. The flowers have to, that's just the way farms work. And so with that permission, it was so freeing. And I said, this needs to be the thing that I do because during the weekends I have, my husband wants to do things and, we have other things to do. And so I thought this is a great idea to fill my cup and take a day trip from time to time and just be able to take a day trip to the beach or do, just to give myself that breathing space because I find that I'm so much more creative when I have a minute to just be with myself and not be busy in my head or busy with meetings or busy with things that I have to do. Then I am 100 times more productive because I took the time for me and my creative juices then really start flowing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I find that even, for me, I take Wednesday, middle of the week, if I have doctor's appointments, whatever, for me, I do that. Um, but I also find that when Tuesday is here, I'm not like dragging. It's like, oh, isn't it Wednesday yet? I am energized because I know I've got Wednesday coming up. So that energy anticipating Wednesday actually keeps everything flowing, like you were saying, keeps the creativity going. It keeps the energy going. It's just amazing to have. And it's like, I don't know. It's just a yippee. You know,
It
it's,
is.
it's not like you're working 5 days a week and the weekend's finally here. I can hardly wait, and you're kind of slow on Friday. I found it to be very different because I enjoy those Wednesdays so much to just get away from everything and do things that I wouldn't normally do. And I'm doing more artwork than I've done in the past, and um, and I know it's a little more difficult when you have kids at home, when you're homeschooling and still running your business, but you've got to find some time somewhere in there that is just yours. And I kind of wonder if I got the idea from Stephen King. I watched an interview of his and it's on YouTube, and I'm sorry I don't remember what it's called right now, but he was talking about how when he goes to write, he actually goes up in his office. He doesn't take his cell phone. He doesn't have a TV. He doesn't have a radio. I don't
Mm.
even think he has a laptop in there. He types on the old school typewriter, and he closes the door. He says nobody interrupts him. The kids don't interrupt him. They don't tell him about school. They don't tell him about the games he's got going on or anything else. Wife doesn't interrupt him about what you want for dinner. Nobody interrupts him unless the house is burning down around him, literally. So that time is his to write and to stay focused on it. And I think when we use that same principle for ourselves to give us that self care, to say, everything else is shut out. This is me, to get that energy back, to find out who I am, to see if I still am who I think I am, to just have fun, to release everything. And it makes a huge difference. Like you were saying, you got that accomplished and you loved it because now it's accomplished. You know it's done. It's ready to go. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But it was fun to go out there and get your hands in the dirt and spend time outside. And we spend so much time inside that we forget to just enjoy being outside without electronics, without cell phones, without
And it's
looking to see if
important.
anybody answered. Go ahead.
It's important for our health. One of the
Oh,
things
yes.
that's been clear, every woman that was on that retreat said this was so freeing, just so freeing to not have
Yes.
to check messages and not have to check text messages and emails and and you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like not like the world's going to crumble if you're not in touch with it. But honestly, everyone collectively said, and everyone was in different business industries, and some of them were nurses, and and all of them had children, and so I'm at a different level because I've raised children, I have grandchildren. I'm at a whole different place in life and redoing myself in setting out in a new career. And so with that, I will say that just being able to disconnect is important, but putting your feet, that's
Yeah.
the thought I was going with, putting your feet on the earth, literally. We are building machines now to help earth us when we could be doing it ourselves
Absolutely.
by going
Yeah.
outside, take your shoes off, go in the grass, if you're on a beach, the sand, because the magnetic energy, the negative energy of your body actually goes out, and you're able to put positive, good energy into your cells. And it actually is very healthy for your body to do that. And you
Oh,
don't have to buy
yes.
a machine to do it.
Yeah. And it's interesting that when you've got kids and you've got those little kiddie pools with water, just putting a chair there and putting your feet in the water in the sunshine on a day, what a difference that makes. Just that connection, letting things flow. Get the flip-flops off. It's Saturday afternoon, whatever. Sunday afternoon, church is over, nothing else is going on. And just putting your feet in the water and just letting yourself be. Huge difference. So yeah, we don't need big technology, expensive machines. Just go get a little kiddie pool. Go get a
You
plastic Tupperware, Rubbermaid tub, put
I
water
love
in it, but just
to say
let your feet be in it.
That's right. I love that you're saying that, because that brings a thought to mind here is, I've raised children. When my children were younger, I ran a daycare out of my home. And one of the things that I find very valuable that we forget, because this is the other gift that I got out of this retreat, was being present. It
Yes.
made me have to reflect on all the times I'm not present. I may be there, but I'm somewhere else. And
Right.
when you're not present in that moment, and so if you're a young mom with children, just know that it's a season. The season will be over because the children will grow up. And then when you're a grandparent, again, it's a season because you're in that season. So what I learned was, when are the times in my life where I wasn't present? So a lot of times when you're raising children, you're just go, 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 but you're
Yeah.
forgetting to get down on the floor and be present. And that was probably one of the biggest gifts I got this weekend, was learning to be present in the moment and stop thinking about the next thing, the next thing. And we all talked about that. It's just like, that was collectively the other piece, that by not being on the electronics the whole time and not being worried about all these other things, that you could actually be in a moment of presence. And that is a gift to others, because then you're really with them. You really have
Yes.
that conversation with them. You're not somewhere else while you're having a conversation. With children, the same. They want your time. They just want you to look at them eyeball to eyeball and
Yep.
connect. And so that's important. And whether you're in business and with a client, you want to be present with them.
Yes, definitely. And, you know, being on our cell phones, we're not being present. Even though we're answering or talking, you're dividing yourself. And you need to not do that. Just take the few minutes just to look at the person while you're talking, when you're having a conversation. Makes a huge difference. It really does. And yeah, I just don't know how else to expand on that right now. But you brought that, being that present in every moment, whether it's at work or at home. Um, Talking with a new client, we get busy writing down what they're saying and stuff, and we forget to just really connect with them. I watch some of my first podcasts, and my head is down most time because I'm writing down what they're saying, and I'm looking for new questions. And I finally got rid of the notepad because it's like, I'll look at it. I record it. We can watch the replay. So I'm just going to have a conversation now and not do that. At first I was saying, well, why should I miss out on everything? It's like, well, I'm not missing out because I have to watch it over when I do the edits or anything else. But really learning to be a part of what's going on. And sometimes it has to be a skill that we learn. when my daughter-in-law first had her son and he's getting a little bit older, she would just, change him, clean him, feed him, all of that stuff. But she didn't know how to just play with him. And I said, it's easy. You just see what they're doing and you be a part of that. And you take the time to get down on the floor. And there was like, oh, but the floor is dirty, but your kids have to learn to crawl. And it's like, look, you clean your house. I know you're a great house cleaner. You don't have to worry about those things. And a little bit of dirt is good. Kids that get dirty are healthier in the long run. But you're just down there with them at their level to where they are. And I think that's very important no matter who we are, what age we are, what we're doing. You need to be present at the other person's level where they're at and meet them there. I think it not only helps you because now you're fully engaged and you get to learn about them, you get to really see them, and there's just a different exchange that happens.
I just recently read something, can't remember the book I was reading, but it talks about children and looking at them eye to eye. So like a lot of times, even if you're in a supermarket and a child just looks at you and you look at them in the eye, they smile.
Yeah.
You're actually giving them a lot of positive feedback just by looking at them in the eye and smiling. And that like is an immediate energy boost. And it's an immediate energy boost to yourself too, because have you ever found yourself with, you're on a line and all of a sudden this little baby smiles at you and it's just like, it's almost like your whole energy just lifts because it brings you joy. So the same thing with people. People want to be understood. People want to have communication and connection.
Yes.
A lot of times, in today's world, we're missing that. We're missing that, the human connection
Right.
with each other. And with children getting down on the floor, Wayne Dyer had said that in one of his books, and it really talked about literally getting down on the floor with the child, eyeball to eyeball. You will be surprised the things that child will tell you when you do that, because there's a trust that that they have when you do that with them.
Right.
And yeah, so I love reading, so I'm an avid reader.
Nice. Yeah. So one of the other things I just thought of too is sometimes we have those kids that are really shy, and the kids are usually keeping their heads down, for whatever reason. And it could be even when they're 2 years old and you just notice that they're shy. And so you take the time to help lift their chin up, just kindly, and say, right here, look at me when you talk, and help them to become comfortable doing that. So when they get into school or when they get into public situations, they can look somebody in the eye instead of always being afraid. And sometimes kids don't know, sometimes they say it's genetic why they don't do that, for whatever reason, but have them look you in the eye. Like I told you earlier when we were talking about the giving book, I have a grandson who's autistic, and being able to look him in the eye really is no big deal. He's in his 20s now, but some autistic kids do not like to be looked in the eye. So you have to think about where your child is. Just thought of something. Coming back through the airport, I saw a gentleman in a wheelchair, and he looked at me and he was waiting for a reaction from me, because a lot of people see someone in a wheelchair and they become uncomfortable because they don't know how to talk. And it's like, so they kind of look away or they look over their head or something like that. But I made direct eye contact with him and I smiled and I said, you have a great day. And all of a sudden his demeanor changed and he smiled back. And it's amazing how much just a simple little thing will do for somebody. Because too many times people in wheelchairs or older people or someone who has, I don't want to say a handicap, but they have an ability that's different than other people.
Right.
People ignore them or walk away or pretend they're invisible, and nobody likes to be invisible. Um, sometimes they want to go high. It's like, I just want to be invisible today. But in public, they don't want to be treated like there's something wrong with them. because it's, there's just something different. That's all. And
That's
yeah,
what comes with human connection. And just,
yes,
I find that a lot when there's someone who has a disability, or their people are trying to avoid looking at them. And I am of the understanding that giving your smile away is one of the best gifts that you can give someone in their day.
oh,
And
absolutely.
so having that eyeball to eyeball connection and then giving your smile away is super important.
It is. It is. So many times I have seen somebody and just a simple smile, simple hi, and they're like, wow, hi. It's incredible. Something so simple to do that adds value to their day. And one of the talks I give is talking about the value in you, that anytime you give your value away, even if it's just with a smile, you get so much more value back. Unlike energy that you run out, if you never run out of value, value is always there. And when you give it away, you get so much more back. Don't understand how it works, don't really care. I just know it does work, and it's great. It's great. So we never run out of value. And sometimes it's the simplest things that we can do. Hold a door open for somebody. Offer to take a cart to the store for them after, they've unloaded their groceries. Because sometimes it's just a pain to take those shopping carts back. And they would just want to get in their car and go home.
I know that
But
is always the thing. Every time I have a cart, I'm like, everybody else just has their carts all around me. They left them. I'm like, nope, not going to
yeah,
do that. I
no,
go take it all the way back. I'm like, doesn't matter. I don't care
yeah,
what they do. Not to, because the thing is, on a windy day, I would not want somebody to leave that cart there, because
that's
that is going
right.
to hit my car, and I do not. So what you give out into the world is what you're going to get back. So
Oh,
that's why I'm like,
definitely.
nope, I would take that thing back.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah, my kids one time for youth group, they were told next time you're at a parking lot, gather up the shopping carts that are loose, put them in the cart corral or take them into the store. And everybody was supposed to do that. And the kids did that. Somebody asked them one time, it's like, why are you doing that? And they go, well, because it's something nice to do and it's not going to run into your car and it helps the person out that works here. And they were like, oh, that's interesting. You're doing
That's
it just to be nice. It's nothing weird about it. But yeah,
Isn't that interesting that the nice things that you do in life today, sometimes other people look at why are you doing that? Well,
yeah,
it's a nice thing to do. I mean, it's the right thing to do.
yeah, yeah. And
And
it's
then you're
like, you don't
on
have
like,
to do that.
wow,
It's like, no, I
right.
don't have to do that, but I'm going to because I like to. I used to make it a rule that every month, and I still do, every month I do something nice for somebody else. Strangers, not people I know. I do nice stuff for people I know too, but for strangers. So, whether it's they don't have enough change, so I, give them $1 or whatever. It's just funny. Somebody asked me one time, he says he left his wallet in the car, and it was just like $5. It wasn't that big deal. I says, let me just buy it for you. I'm not trying to tell you we're in a hurry or anything, but just let me do this for you. And he goes, why would you do that? I said, every month I do something nice for a stranger, and I haven't done anything this month, so you get to
Mm,
be my gift this time. And he was just like, wow, thank you. I mean, it just really caught him by surprise. And it's like, and I know one time somebody was short like 12 cents. So I just put a quarter on there, and she was so upset that she didn't have the right change, and upset that someone else had to pay for it. We didn't have to. I did it because it's a quarter. Who cares? She goes out to her car, comes back in, and gives me the quarter. And I thought, well, shucks, that defeated the purpose of giving you a gift. It's like, well,
I do the same
everybody
thing.
has something.
Aw.
But
You know what, Ellis, you're amazing. I love that the conversation we're having about your book before we started. And
oh yeah,
gosh, that just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
to
Well,
be
since you
able
brought
to.
it up, I'll mention it. We're in volume 5. I'm this is first. Catherine was the first to hear about it. Now you're the next to hear about it. Volume 5 of the Giving Book, and the Giving Book is not just, what's the theme. The theme is you're giving from your heart to others. You're giving to the heart of the reader, and so it can be in art. It can be in poetry. It can be how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or recipes, um, poetry, photography, whatever you have that you do that you love and that you want to share with others can go in this book. And you can just get a hold of me at lskirkpatrick.com or my other website, shinewithls.com, and I can talk more to you about it. But the purpose of the book is to bring joy to someone else's life. I've got people who have written memoirs in there. A wonderful young man wrote a beautiful memoir about his father, who passed away when he was uh, the gentleman was 26, 27, something like that, when his dad passed away. And he had this beautiful artwork of his dad that he submitted to it. I mean, it was just amazing. And there's been others. One person I've got to know who wrote in my first book, Trina, she does INJFs on YouTube. And she did one about her dad who drove a Caterpillar. And if you know, those are the dozers and things like that. My dad did the same thing, so it was so neat. We got to connect about that story, and I heard about her dad and what she did, so I talked with her about mine, and so it was just beautiful. I've got so many different stories that are in there. I just had someone say to me the other day, "Wow, that was an amazing story about that woman. I am just so touched by it." And it's like, wow. So you never know who's going to read it, what they're going to enjoy about it. And there's so much variety in there. I think the first book had like 16, I call them collaborators, because they're not all authors with the photography, with the quotes, maybe jokes, with fun little sayings. So they're not all authors. There's all kinds of genre in there.
Well, I
And
love that. And that's why I brought it up, because so many times everybody has a story,
yes,
and or they have something to share.
yeah,
And what an amazing way in which to help people share something that they you're actually giving them the bridge to start something that they've always
yes,
maybe thought about, and say, let's just, well, how about we bite size this instead of taking
that's
this,
right.
and,
Stick your toe in the water.
right, stick your toe in the water, and let's just do this little part, this little piece. What do you have to share? And I love that, because so if you look at the whole picture of something you might be thinking would be a good idea to do, it's just a lot. But then
Yes,
when you say, oh, let me bite size this and just do this little thing. But
there
that
you
little
go.
thing, and more of the little things that you do, they add up to big things, right?
Yes,
And
yeah,
they can make a difference that someone needs to hear or read or experience. So thank you for that.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the really big part, I guess, of this is not only being able to give this to the authors. And I used to do it all free, because prices have gone up so much for printing and everything else and editing. And I had 56 authors this last time, so that was a lot of editing. So I have to hire out for an editor now. So now there is a small, I mean, very small fee for it. But the all the proceeds from Amazon and from my personal sales go to a nonprofit. So this book is still giving, and I tell everyone who contributes something, the books that you buy personally, you can sell for whatever price you want to, and that's yours to keep. So you can monetize it. You can get something more from it. And we always try to go to number one. See, we've done it on the last three, so I didn't even try for the first one, but some of the authors in the second one said, "Can we try?" And I go, "Sure, we'll give it a try and see what we can do." So there's just always about giving from this book as many ways as we possibly can. Um, So that's always fun. It's called The Giving Book. You can find it on Amazon. And Katherine, I know we're getting close to time. We spent a lot of time talking and getting to know each other. And I'm so thankful that you are here today, that you are here for our audience to learn from you and to have your insight. It's very valuable.
Thank you so much, Ellis. I really appreciate that, you have me on your show. It's so easy to be the one asking questions for me,
Yes.
and but when people are asking you questions, it's a little more of a twist on how to, articulate what you do and how
Yeah.
you do it. But I thank you. It was really great to get to know you today. So
Oh,
thank you.
you too. This is wonderful. And tell our audience where they can find you if they want to connect more with you and ask more questions and get answers.
Thank you. So you can reach me at on any of my social sites. I'm Katherine Martin-Fisher on all of my sites. And the other way is on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also Katherine Martin-Fisher. And I always put the spin, the Martin, because I'm Hispanic background. So I keep that on the forefront. And then, or I am at Rocket Growth Business Advisors .com. So rocketgrowthba.com is actually it.
Good. Good.
Um,
And you
and
have
we'll
a podcast too. I want you
and
to let
I
people know what
have,
it is.
yes, thank you for the reminder. Yes. And the Beyond Business podcast is our podcast platform. And anybody who's interested in being on my platform in order to be able to elevate their voice, their business, and get known, that is one of the biggest things you want to do is be on and be able to, let the world know what you do and how you do it and how you serve the world. So thank you so much for letting me do this today, Ellis.
Oh, my honor. It's always a pleasure to have someone on my front porch, even if it's on a podcast. I mean, it's just wonderful. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you, our audience, on the next podcast.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.